Good morning, Freeman CPA. I'm here today to talk to you about our top reasons to form an LLC versus an S corporation. So our first top reason would be you're going to invest in a real estate endeavor. You're going to be renting out real estate. So real estate rental. Never put real estate rental into an S corporation. It will trigger taxation upon moving that real estate out of the entity. That's the whole point of having an LLC for rental properties, that you can put the rental property into the LLC and pull it out without triggering any sale. If you put rental property into an S corporation, pulling that property out is a sale for tax purposes, triggering a gain. It's a very common mistake that we see happen. Reason number two, you're a new business. As we mentioned before, when you're starting out, an LLC is a simple form of doing business, and it's definitely going to help in reducing the amount of costs, and the taxation will be simpler. Foreign investors. One day you want to maybe attract foreign investors, or you're currently doing business in the US out of the country, and an S Corp will not allow for foreign ownership. All right. You want to modify agreements with your partners. Easier. So every year you can modify your partnership agreement and change it around, pretty simple. This is a good one, multi-state operations. If you have an S Corp and you're doing business out of state, you're going to have to deal with a lot more registration, a lot more tax compliance work, payroll compliance work, that will basically make your filings way more complicated. An LLC that travels out of state and earns income out of state and has nexus out of state will have a much simpler filing. There won't be any payroll filings that need to happen for the owner as with an S Corp. So it's definitely a simpler way of allocating profits to the other states. A great example would be a truck driver. A truck driver doing business across state lines will not have to run a payroll for going across state lines. Or a race car driver. A race car driver is very similar. They do form businesses for their endeavors. They go across state lines. They have to register for payroll. They have to register for business taxes. It's more complicated. So you don't want to deal with that. That's why an LLC, especially if you're starting out, will be a great form of doing business for your multi-state operations. All right, those are the first. Flexibility. So when you're dealing with flexibility, I'm not sure if I spelled flexibility right. It's right? Okay, good. Flexibility is good. Like we mentioned in other videos, it can convert from an LLC to an S Corp. It can go back. You can go for a C Corp route. And there's way more flexibility than that. Besides converting, we had a client over the weekend ask, well, how come I can't claim my home office through my corp, it's after the year end? Well, that's because you don't claim home office through the corp. It has to go through a reimbursement system. Same thing with the auto. You don't just claim your auto. It has to go through a reimbursement system, an accountable plan. So you can't just nilly-willy claim it and plop in your auto or your home office and make it part of your corporate return. Now you have formalities. So definitely a lot more formalities within the corp, a lot easier, and that kind of goes back to the simplicity of it. Tax savings. All right, we discussed that in another video. When you're dealing with the QBID and a certain amount of taxable income, you're probably going to be better off with an LLC. Not always, it depends, it's case by case, we already said that. Savings. All right, savings in either tax or accountant fees. Now, I hate to say that because I am an accountant, that's how we make our bread and butter. But hey, if you have an S Corp and you're dealing with a lot more complexities, a lot more formalities, you're going to spend more on an accountant. Greater retirement contribution. Now, with S Corp, you can also do retirement contributions, but they are typically like a solo 401k or a SEP IRA, and they have limitations because the limitations are based off the W-2 and the profit. Whereas in LLC, all the profit is open for contribution. So if you have a $60,000 salary here, you'd be limited to 25% of your W-2 as much as you can contribute with a SEP. Whereas here, you can really max out up to the total max of, what is it, like $58,000 if you have enough profit. So much greater contribution potential with an LLC versus an S Corp. So if you're driven to contribute as much as you would want for your retirement, an LLC would most often produce a much greater retirement contribution that's tax deductible, again, possibly saving you more in taxes. All right, we said fewer formalities, and last but not least is the distribution inequality. So when you have partners with an LLC versus an S Corp, if you have partner A and partner B, and you're both 50-50, you have to take distributions at a 50-50 rate. Otherwise, it's going to be considered as you don't have the same type of class of stock, and that could basically pierce the corporate veil if you're not, technically speaking, if you're not taking distributions at a 50-50 rate. So you'll often have catch-up distributions to make sure that you're sticking to the percent ownership. All right, so that's a little bit burdensome, but I mean, in all honesty, that's not really that much of an issue, and that's why I kind of kept it last, because in a partnership, if you're dealing with an LLC partnership, and you have partner A and B, you can also have a 50-50 split, and believe it or not, those partners are still going to want 50% of the profits. So that's still going to be something that they're going to catch up on. If one partner takes 30 and the other one takes 70 or something along those lines, they're still going to want to balance this out after the year closes, and they do a tally and they look at everything that's been spent when the accountant presents what's been spent for distribution, or actually we call it draws really for LLC members, and so then they'll balance it out amongst themselves in the following year, and then there's always catch-ups. But technically speaking, an S Corp has to abide by these, and that's way more stringent. Again, kind of circling back to formalities and more complex situations with a Corp versus an LLC. All right, that's it, folks. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, let us know. Or if you have any other suggestions as to why you'd rather form an LLC versus an S Corp that we haven't covered, please let us know. We'd love to learn from you. Have a great day. Freeman CPA signing off. Remember, your success is our success here every day.